Hey, what's going on, guys? Godstatus here. So I came home from work and was surprised to see Stylish dropped a new update, which is pretty interesting. There's some things that I want to talk about. Some are good, some are some are not so but I just want to give my opinions on them and see how you guys feel about the update. So, newest, biggest update is the fact that there is now the ammo category, which is where before you had to go to ammo through other, which I'll show right here. Your ammo types were like flechette, birdshot, everything like that were in here. Now they have their own category. Now the main issue where this comes into play is really just with the AA-12 because you have the 20 round drum with it. In any other scenario, it really isn't that bad. Like, I was kind of bothered about it because of the idea of the AA-12 for a while. Like, when I first heard about this, it seemed absolutely bonkers. But with anything outside of the AA-12, it's kind of nothing serious. Like, it really doesn't change the game that much. So it wasn't anything for me to really be upset about. Honestly, the AA-12 is the only case where I feel like there should have been something done to kind of limit these things. Because, especially if you're using slugs on the AA-12, I believe if you hit the torso at any range, you two-shot, essentially turning the AA-12 with slugs into a really powerful DMR. Not so great for the game. Even like right here where I'm using a 20 round flechette shotgun, not so great for the game either, but I mean, that is just my opinion, of course. I mean, some people might think this is okay. I personally think it's kind of dumb, but that's just me. So that happened. Now there was also the nerf to Hollow Point. Hollow Point has become a bit more balanced, which was good. Hollow Point definitely needed that. It was way too busted in its current state. I believe the main update that they did to it was just changing some ranges. So things like the MP10 won't 3-shot up to like 90 studs anymore. Things like that did get nerfed. So that is really good. That 100% needed to happen. I don't think anyone was for Hollow Point staying how it was. With, it was incredibly strong. Stronger than any of us really wanted it to be. And way too strong than it was even prior to it being nerfed in the first place. So it's a good change in my opinion. I'm happy with it. But one thing I'm not happy with, and I kind of addressed this in my initial video talking about the M16A4 changes, and I kind of want to talk about it here again, is that the M16A4 and the M4 carbine both got nerfed as far as their bursting potential, which I've been advocating, don't get me wrong, I have wanted a nerf to these guns for and I mean a very long time. I've been saying they've been busted for months, even over a year at this point, saying that they needed a nerf and something needed to be done. I just don't think that this was the nerf that I really wanted. The M4 and the M16A4 were, burst guns in general in PF have been known for their skill gap. They were extremely good if you knew how to use them. They were okay if you didn't. And that's where the real gap and that really came into play. Wow, I did like no damage there. But that's where the gap really came into play. And I'm going to show you why this bothers me. Because the M16A4 and the M4 can't burst at like insane speeds anymore. They can still do it decently quick, but it's not what it used to be. And then you take other guns. Like let's use the the AK-12 as an example, which still has burst and still can be bursted at Mach 7. That's an issue. Why? Because you nerfed the M16A4 and M4, making them a lot less usable than they used to be. Not a lot, but like a decent bit less usable, let's be honest here. Change them quite a bit. People who are used to those guns are no longer going to use those guns anymore because of how big of this change is. And now you made it so that the other burst guns are still the exact same. So the issue with burst guns being extremely strong has not gone away, and it hasn't been resolved in any real way. Hasn't been resolved. If we're saying that only nerfing 2 out of like the 6 burst guns changes this, it doesn't. It truthfully doesn't. And like I said, I don't really like that this is how they handled the update. The M16 and M4, especially since they were the most popular burst guns, I liked that skill gap. It really did make it so that you had, well, you had too much of an advantage up until now, but it made it so you had an advantage if you got skilled with those guns, which was nice. It made it so that, you had something to grind towards. People who put in the work to be good with those guns were rewarded. But now that that's gone, they could just switch to other guns. So the cycle of, extremely powerful burst guns is still there. Nothing has really changed. It's just you're changing the guns that people are going to use, and arguably the I keep saying AA-12, the AK-12 is easier to burst than the M16A4 and the M4 because of its higher fire rate, which means you can click a little bit faster and it isn't as punishing. So it didn't really solve any issues. You just changed the guns up, which in a sense, like, yeah, I kind of like that. Other guns will be used now instead of that. But the problem wasn't, oh, we just want something new. It was that burst guns were way too strong. So that problem is still there. Nothing truly has been solved in this category. It's just a little bit of change, which I don't like. I would like to see them bring back the old burst mechanics take a nerf to their damage, take a nerf to their damage range, you know, their reload times, anything like that, that would change the gun up instead of completely changing it, right? I don't personally believe that they should have changed the entire integrity of the gun, which was something that, like, can be argued with a lot of things. I remember when the HK-21 first came out, it was stupid. Like, it just literally fired completely randomly. It didn't have any real purpose in the game. And now that they changed it up, it's a bit more accurate, but it still does have that random feeling to it most of the time. Whereas with this gun has been in the game, the M16A4 and the M4, which from my understanding from what a friend told me, this is how the M16A4 and the M4 behave now, is how they originally behaved when they first came out, or at least for the M16A4. But that's just, it's not for me, man. Like, even for someone who hates burst guns because of how strong they are, this isn't the change that I really wanted to see. And I don't think this is a change that a lot of the community wanted to see. And I'm gonna go out kind of, you know, wild here and say this. As much as the community may speak up about things, and I'm gonna say this with my personal experience, and you guys may feel another way, don't just take this as, you know, fact. This is how I feel about it. No matter how much the community may speak up about something, Silas will never change things how the community wants it completely. If they're set in a way of how they believe something should be done, that's how they will make it, and that's just the final answer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, it is their game, blah, 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 but at the same time, the community is the one playing the game, not necessarily them, right? Like, we're playing the game all the time, we're the ones who deal with the updates and who, you know, have to play with them constantly. They don't really play the game that much. So when they change a gun to be, you know, how they want it compared to how, like, you know, let's say, I'm not saying this exact example for the M16A4. I personally feel like a large, you know, majority of the outspoken community didn't want to see the M16A4 nerfed this way. But let's say, you know, a lot of the community, right? Let's say like 70% of the community was like, no, don't change the M16A4 this way. And then they still did. And granted, I don't think it was that large of a majority. And there are a lot of people who aren't able to voice their opinions on large scales, which I understand, don't get me wrong. I just don't think this was the move, boys. I really don't. The rest of the update, you know, hollow point, the ammo type, things like that, kind of cool. You can now use armor piercing ammo and, you know, a green laser. It allows you to have that option. I think that's pretty neat. AA-12 needs to be looked at, but, you know, oh well, that's, you know, one thing that could change. But the burst, man, I'm really bothered about it. And you guys know me, I don't even like burst guns. They're literally like my least liked part of anything. And now they're just kind of done with. There's not much else I really want to say. The update wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't my favorite. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions in the comments below. Please let me know how you feel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.